The first question is, could you please recommend a mantra to recite tomorrow? Extend compassion on November 11th, Remembrance Day. Is tomorrow November 11th? No. It's next week. In other words, what do we recite in order to give blessings to everybody on Remembrance Day, something like that? So many of them, maybe we use a simple one. We highly honor a very simple one, which is Om Mayura Grande Swaha. That's a very simple one. And this one would give peace to all state of countries, to all countries or cities, particularly those who are subject to natural disasters like earthquake, tsunami, weather, all kinds of severe weathers, and which Vancouver is subject to earthquake in some cases. And maybe we should chant the Peacock Sutra. That would be protection of the whole state, of the whole cities. This mantra is effective in doing that. Second, other than protecting the country, how about one's individual? It is a mantra that's an antidote to what? To poison. Why do we have sickness? Because we have germs inside of us. We have certain poisons inside of us. That's why some people have incurable disease because of these germs, because of this, lots of germs that kill the body. So this particularly is to get rid of all these bad germs in the body. In other words, get rid of all the sickness. And also, this is a mantra of longevity. So this is easy to do. So if you're asking me, this is what I recommend for now, for Remembrance Day. So we want to try that now? Let's put, it's a peacock mantra, then you can do this. And with a peacock, like this is the tail and this is the head, right? The head and the tail, put your fingers like that, right? And then twist it around like this. So that you have the two last fingers coming out, and this is the head. This is the head. All right, did you see that? Okay, that is for the very polite, very courteous peacock. For the peacock that is very active is this on top. So they even move it. Om Mayura Grande Swaha. Om Mayura Grande. This is the wing, right? This is the wing. But right now we don't need that. We just, we're sitting down in here, we use this. Okay. Let's try to chant. Om Mayura Grande Swaha. 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 So the mantra that on Remembrance Day, this is the mantra. If you chant this mantra all the time, good health, relieve yourself from all kind of poison, and peace to the country that you're living in, free from earthquake. We are due for an earthquake, Vancouver is due for an earthquake already. But somehow we didn't have it. Maybe it will be for another 100 years or 200 years, we don't know. But according to geologists, they said it's long due, it just didn't come. And an earthquake will be disastrous if it's an earthquake. And so don't do it when it happened. Try to prevent it. And that's something good for Remembrance Day. Actually, you are giving blessings to the country, to blessings to everybody. Give out, be compassionate. Don't just for yourself. Be compassionate, wishing the country, the nation, on Remembrance Day to be peaceful, to be free from earthquake and all natural disasters, and everybody lead a longer life, healthier life. Isn't that the best blessings you want? Right? That's Remembrance Day. All right? Okay. So, second half of the question. Also, thank you for the level of detail you include in your Dharma talks. It is very useful to my practice. Yeah, we've gone into a lot of detail in the consciousness. It should be quite helpful. Yeah, and we've been putting all my Dharma talks in YouTube and in our website, and for a number of years already, both on the Chinese side and on the English side. On the Chinese side, I used 2 languages. I spoke 2 languages, the Mandarin language and the Cantonese. But there are a lot of English lectures on YouTube and on our website too. Our website have cooking in it, vegetarian cooking, have the history of the whole temple, have even a Facebook on it and registration. Get into our website, www.buddhisttemple.ca. Buddhist temple being one word, .ca. So www.buddhisttemple.ca. You have a lot of information. You can also register for getting newsletter. You can have a lot of information in there. You'll be amazed how much information we have. We have been revamping it for 2 years now, and it's now on, I shouldn't say on the market, but yeah, it's on the market. I mean, on the society, you know. So try to get into it, and then you can also get into YouTube with all the lectures. We plan to do more of it, and surprisingly, I think not just in Hong Kong, we receive a lot of comments from Southeast Asia, from Singapore, Malaysia, especially on the English side, from Singapore, Malaysia, because most of them speak good English in Singapore and Malaysia. So they like to absorb the English part of the lecture. Because in Singapore and Malaysia, they may not be very good at Chinese. When we talk about Buddhism, because a lot of it is written in ancient Chinese, even the Chinese, they don't understand. Don't think that when the Chinese listen to a Chinese talk about Buddhism, they understand. Not many people understand. And modern Chinese is quite different from the Chinese written, translated, you know, in the Ming Dynasty, in the Tang Dynasty, which is about 1,000 years ago. Some of them, you know, they're not the same. So even the Chinese people, they like to get to the English part of the lecture. That's the reason why we receive a lot of popularity in there. So it's useful to the practice. Yes, it's the talking is quite useful, and more I find out that getting people to know about the Buddhist teaching through the mass media is even more effective than renting a hall to have an audience of 1,000 people and talk about it. Because renting a hall, opium theater, or you know, other UPC halls, you can only absorb about 1,000. But in a website, you can have millions of people, and if you do a good job, that's very effective. I have people who came over here lately. I have something surprising. I had a pilot trainer coming to visit me, and he was listening to my YouTube and really liked it, to one of my lectures. And he came to visit me every time when they fly to Vancouver. And he brought me newspapers particularly. I said, I don't read newspapers. Every time he came, he brought me newspaper, all kinds of newspapers from Hong Kong. So he really liked the lectures. And there are other people too. I have people from the States. I have people from many parts of the world coming here because of what we put on YouTube and on our website. So we'll be keeping, to update it and improve it in a better and better way. And you have been making these things happen, you may not realize it. You may not realize it subliminally. You have been making these things happen. You know why? Because you are the audience. If there's no audience, then I, being the speaker, may not be talking about it. Since you participate, you have been helping to make it happen all this number of years, particularly those who have been here for a long time. You make these things happen. You may not know about it. So you've been contributing. If you go to if you go to a gambling casino, you also make things happen too, but that's happened in a different way. So what do you choose to do? All right, so this is the question. The second question, thank you indeed for the Dharma lunch, for the Dharma and lunch, the donors, and thank you, the volunteers. Number one, most of us can learn the teachings of the Buddha. However, when it comes to practice the teaching of the Buddha, one cannot walk the path. We just talked the talk, not walking the talk. That means we mostly fail in our practice to our heavy negative karma. Is it true? It's true and false. It's true and false. I mean, there's no such thing as it's true or it's false, because some people are practicing. But I think the proportion of people who are really practicing according what the Buddha was talking about is not out proportion those who are not practicing, who are not following. So I would say, if I just throw a rough estimate of the figures, maybe about 30% of the people, the rest of the 70%. Some of the people, maybe another 30% is just they heard about it, they thought it's important, but they habitually think about how they enjoy life and do something else. So not a lot of people really walked the path. They listen to it, but habitually we just do what we want. We never condition ourselves to do what the Buddha has been teaching us, because that means a lot of changes in you that would disrupt your habitual life seeking for luxuries, enjoyment, quote unquote happiness that you think about. And we don't know how to define happiness. So not many people practice, but some people do practice too. But on the other hand, why would anyone always be having a lot of disgruntled about people not practicing? As long as you practice, then it'll be okay. You don't say, how come these people are not practicing? They're not right, they're not right. You're always throwing your view onto other people. How come you're not practicing? Well, how about yourself? Care for yourself first. Don't be a teacher and telling other people to do what you should be doing. You know what? If you are doing the right thing, your conduct would give the inference and impression to others. Not saying, how come you don't do it? How come you don't do that? I mean, you're always blaming other people. Not blaming. You're always, if you're always giving out disgruntled and complain about something, I don't think that really works too well. You just walk it yourself, and maybe in the process of walking it, really doing it, you are enlightened. You become someone who's so enlightened that other people see your conduct, see how you speak, they were impressed by you. However, if you're always saying, how come these guys are not doing it? They're not right. I mean, do you think people will follow you? No. Why don't we just hide the disgruntled and the complaint and just walk it yourself? If everybody is doing that, if they see you walking it and giving good impression about it, then they will do it. It's just like the teacher. If I'm the teacher in a class of students, if I'm always saying, hey, how come, Jack, you're not doing it right? However, if you do it yourself, if you yourself are really applying yourself to the teaching, and you really want the students to learn, even in your off teaching time, you contribute your time to help a lot of other people, other students who lag behind. Your behavior, your attitude changed them. Not your command, not your iron rules, not your negative feelings about things, not your complaint. It's your behavior. Your behavior will change the society, not words, not just the words. Second question, if one is not vegetarian, is one not a Buddhist? Not necessarily. If you are not a vegetarian, you may still be a Buddhist. A Buddhist does not have to be a vegetarian, but a Buddhist should stay away from killing, because killing is a very heavy karmic energy that you're involved in. But being a Buddhist, you don't have to be a vegetarian. But you must not kill. But if you are not a vegetarian, and you claim yourself to be a Buddhist, but you are a hunter, you always like to go fishing, you like to hunt the deers for meat, you like to go hunting, then it's not right. Then you are not, strictly speaking, you're not following the Buddhist teaching. The Buddhist teaching, you're not a Buddhist. So you don't have to be a vegetarian, but you must observe the Vinaya, or the precepts, as advocated and introduced by the Buddha. So what is the definition of a Buddhist? What is the definition of a Buddhist? That is something really worth talking about. What is the definition of a Buddhist? That comes to, why do you believe in Buddhism? What is the definition of a Buddhist? I say that to be a Buddhist, there are 3 aspects to it. To be a Buddhist, to be a true, authentic, real Buddhist, there are 3 aspects to it. And we consider these aspects from 3 perspectives: the present, the past, and the future. What is time? Time is the present, the past, and the future. So being a Buddhist, what do you do in the present? Being a Buddhist, what do you do? How do you treat your past? What kind of attitude you should have to your past? Being a Buddhist, what kind of attitude you should have for the future? I think that's a better perspective to consider whether you're Buddhist or not a Buddhist. Let's consider, say, the past, the present, and the future. If you're a Buddhist, how do you view the past? Let's put it that way, right? So the definition of Buddhist, we can talk about it in a little bit of more detail. If you are a true, authentic Buddhist, how do you view your past? What happened to your past? The past is already gone, right? So if the past, the abusive mishaps that you received, or the happy days that are gone, all this past, do you have to hang on to them? You don't hang on to your agonies of the past. You don't attach to the happiness of the past. But you can learn from them. So if you're being abused, you know that you won't abuse others. If you did something wrong in the past, you learn from it and not to commit the same mistakes again. So you only learn from the past experiences and not attaching to the past. When you attach to the past, what happened to you if you're a true, authentic Buddhist? You always involve yourself with the memory of the past. If somebody did you wrong in the past, you hate him. If somebody gave you happiness, you loved him. So there's hatred, love, anger, all kinds of emotions will come out because of past experiences. All those, you don't want to attach to them. So you let the past go. It does not mean that you don't learn from the past, you still learn from the past. You let the past go. You learn how to detach yourself from the attachment of the past. That's difficult. You know why people suffer from depression? They always remember the bad experiences of the past, and they always bring the past bad experiences, the grieving experiences, the abusive experiences, and put it on the table of the present and ponder on it, and they get depressed about it. And finally they commit suicide because of this depression. They want to bring the past onto the present to think about it, but can the past happen again? You don't want the past to happen again, and it's not going to happen because you know that that's not a good past. So why do you bring something that is the past that will not happen and want it to happen into your mind again? You think by being depressive about it, the amount of depression you have can change what is in the past? If you think that by being depressed you can change the past, raise your hand. Right? You cannot, right? If you think that by being depressed you still cannot change your past, raise your hands. Well, what are you doing? You don't follow my logic. In other words, huh? Double negative. Sometimes it works too fast. I got a double negative. So that means for people, there's two kinds of people. People, I even got confused myself now. Because you throw back at me and I don't know about it. So don't scare of challenging people. You know, he thinks too fast, you got to stop. I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, you think any amount of depression would not change the past outcome. Is that right? You agree? Yes. If you agree, raise your hands. There are some who don't agree, right? Everybody agrees, right? On this side who speaks English, right? So any amount of depression would not change the past. Then why do you want to bring the past onto the present table and think about it and get depressed? No point, right? The future. You worry about the future, right? Is there any amount of depression or anxiety or fear now that you have would change the outcome of the future?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Only by depression? I said only by. Huh?
If you're depressed.
So if you are depressed about it, because of depression is usually related to past experiences. But I'm talking about the anxiety itself. Would any amount of anxiety would change the outcome of the future? No, it won't. But your preparation, your plan, your analysis may change the outcome of the future, but not just by the anxiety and the fear. Any amount of fear will not change the future outcome, right? Or any amount of fear will not change what is going to happen to you. You think what is going to happen to you, say if you're waiting for a report from of your health, you think you get worried will change the report? It won't. But how come people get worried? We always get worried about it, right? Well, it won't change it, right? That's our habitual thinking. So let's talk about am I talking for too long now? Huh? Yeah. So I am. So I better shorten it. So we're talking about being a true Buddhist from a perspective of the past. You don't attach to the past. And how about the future? Let's consider the present later. How about the future? The future hasn't come, you don't worry about it. A true, authentic Buddhist would only prepare for a good future and not worrying about the future, right? There's no fear, there's no worry. Okay. How about the present moment? The present, you know that you want a good future, right? At the present, you want to what? You want to build up causes. Because there's cause and effect. You will want to build up causes for future planning, for future happiness. And that causes has to be based on good karma. You think you can create bad karma by having a good future? No. So you know that at the present moment you have to work towards a good karma, number one. Then, if you work towards a good karma, then number two step is to work towards a pure karma. A good karma, for example, is to render good deeds to people. Being help, abstain from killing, abstain from lying, helpful, compassionate. You're doing all kinds of benevolent deeds. Then you won't create bad outcome for you to suffer. Because when you are doing bad deeds, the effect will be bad. The retribution will be disastrous. Then you have to go through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. But if you are always performing with benevolent ideas, performing good conduct, that means you're paving your way for a happy future because you won't suffer from bad retribution, right? So in the present, you have to be a good person. You have to observe all your precepts. You have to make sure that you're not mixed with miseries and bad conduct, killing, lying, sexual misconduct, intoxications, you name them. You want to get away from those. Being an authentic Buddhist, you want to get away from all those bad karma. That's, at the present moment, then you have to be a good person. In the past, you don't attach to the past. In the future, you don't worry about the future. Live at the present moment. All these, if you talk about how to be a true Buddhist, is not one word, one sentence. It's a whole combination of the Buddhist teaching. I'm just giving you an example. From a time horizon, you do it that way. From a vertical perspective, then it's another way, but I haven't got time to talk about it. There's no such thing as one sentence for being a Buddhist, just one sentence to be comprehensive of being a Buddhist. No. It entails a lot of explanation in it. It entails a lot of philosophy in it.